This is Michael Woodward, and this is episode 52 of the Jumblethink podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Jumblethink podcast, a podcast focused on telling the stories of dreamers, makers, innovators, and influencers. Along the way, we'll give you some tips and ideas of how you can chase your own big idea and dream and make it a reality. On today's episode, we have Kelly Roach. More about Kelly in a moment. I am personally super excited about Monday's guest. His name is Mac Skinner. He is a co-owner in Two Rock Amps. They are a boutique guitar amp company making amps for John Mayer, Matt Schofield, Eric Gales, so many other incredible guitar players. I actually own one of their small amps. It is a killer amp. He's going to share his story of how he went from the restaurant world to owning a boutique guitar amp company. It's a fun story and a great episode. Can't wait to share that with you. Tomorrow is Friday. And every Friday on Facebook and Instagram, we release a short video we call One Tip Friday, where we give you a tip that you can apply to your big idea and dream and move it forward and make it a reality. It's real simple. It's real easy. Swing on over and check it out. Now let's jump into my interview with Kelly Roach. I am super excited about today's guest. Her name is Kelly Roach. She is the CEO of Kelly Roach International. She is a coach, a mentor, a speaker, and an author. In the past, she's been an NFL cheerleader for one of the best teams out there, the Philadelphia Eagles. She is a former Fortune 500 executive. She has a lot of wisdom and great stories she shares throughout this episode. I can't wait for you to check them out. So let's jump into my interview with Kelly Roach. Kelly, I am super excited to have you on the podcast today. How you doing?
I am awesome. Fired up to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
You have an interesting path to what you're doing today. You are the CEO of Kelly Roach International. You do coaching, mentoring, speaking. You've written books. Tell us a little bit about your backstory and what brought you to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I guess my backstory starts a long, long time ago, which I won't bore you with all the details, but I will tell you this. At a very young age, I was in a financially distressed family and had a lot of experiences, a lot of life experiences and circumstances that led me to a belief about life that no one needs to be struggling financially, and that if we're willing to do the work, we're willing to risk failure to achieve success, that anything is possible, and that financial freedom can belong to each and every one of us. So, coming from a background where I really struggled financially, I had like 3 jobs all through college.
Wow.
One of those jobs was being an NFL cheerleader, which was amazing and so much fun. And then, when I graduated from college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, of course. But I knew I wanted to work with people. I knew I wanted to be financially free. I knew I wanted to not be stuck behind a desk all day. So I got into doing sales, quickly moved into management with a Fortune 500 firm. And I was like the first person in, the last person out every single day. I was promoted 7 times in 8 years.
Wow.
I became the youngest senior vice president in the company, which meant that I was running 17 different business units all over the country. I was on planes and trains and buses and, the whole thing. So I ran my way up the corporate ladder and did, in a few years what most people do in a lifetime in terms of my career journey. But I got to the top of that ladder and I kind of looked around and I was like, I think I climbed the wrong mountain.
Wow.
Do you ever have that feeling?
Yeah, I've been there. That's for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I just climbed this mountain as fast and as hard as I possibly could, and I totally took the wrong hill. That happens sometimes. That happens, right?
Yeah.
So I discovered when I got to the top of that mountain that, when you are working for someone else in a corporate job, that even if you work really, really hard and you get promoted and you're on top level role and you're making all this money, that you still don't have freedom. right?
Right.
And so for me, I wasn't fulfilled. I was compromising my health and wellness. I had no time to take care of myself. I had given up on the things that I love, which are like fitness and exercise and wellness and all of that stuff, because I simply had no time to take care of myself. And so I realized, okay, even if I got promoted and kept going up and became the CEO of this company, I wouldn't be happy, right? Like no amount of money can replace having a life.
Right.
And so that was my big learning. And so from there, I had been doing business growth strategy my entire time in corporate. I went into management after only a year of being out of school. So I had been teaching and training and coaching people on how to sell, how to position themselves in the market, how to double or triple their income by growing their business quickly. And that really was my passion. And, bringing it back to what I shared at the very beginning of the show, which was the fact that I did come from a financially struggling background, and I really wanted to grow past and beyond that and then help other people to do that. I took some time to really reflect on what my core values were and where I felt I could make the biggest impact in the world, what I was the best at, what I loved doing. And I said, I need to be helping people start and grow their own businesses. I need to take all of my skills, all of my talent, all of my energy and devote it to helping people achieve financial freedom by building their own businesses so that they can bring together the two things that I had at one time compromised, but now I've been able to bring together in my own business. And that's really what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. And that's what everything that we do at Kelly Roach International is focused on, helping people bring together a life that they love with a business that allows them to make a life that is their masterpiece. And that's kind of how we got to where we are today. I don't know if that was a really long answer, but hopefully it gave a little bit of insight to the journey.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. So let's unpack some of that. You mentioned that you were an NFL cheerleader. Let's just talk about that for a second. For the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Yes.
Good team. If they can just make it to a Super Bowl and win, it would be awesome.
For the love of God. Yeah, right? So
Yeah.
when I cheered, actually, it was during the Donovan McNabb days, right?
Yes.
Not to age myself too much, but it was awesome. Like, it was such a good time. Like, the fans were amazing. We were on the up and up. I was at the very end of the vet, and when we were building Lincoln Financial Field, so it was
wow.
it was such a great time. They've kind of lost their way a little bit over the last decade or so, but hopefully we're getting ourselves back on track here. So we'll see. We'll see what the future brings.
Yeah. And you mentioned you were doing like 3 jobs while you're at college, that being one of them, and that you're overcoming these obstacles of coming from very little, from a rough situation, and trying to make a different life for yourself. Now, there are a lot of people listening who may be going, well, let's step back. A lot of people that come from rough spaces, whether it's financial, whether it's a hard family upbringing, whatever that is, they become part of a pattern, generation after generation. And you've broken that for your family, where you're stepping out into a different lifestyle, where you've made those choices. How did you get over the pitfalls of just accepting where you were and knowing that there was a path that you could take to get to that next part of life where you could make it? You could make something for yourself and not live in that same space.
Such a good question. I think that we as humans, right, not to get like deep and philosophical here, but we as humans have been given free will, which means that we wake up every morning and we make thousands of choices, like micro decisions minute by minute about how we spend our time, where we put our focus, what we're going to exert energy on, how we're going to live our lives. And so what happened in the past is history, and what we do in every moment, from this moment that you and I are having this conversation to what I do next when I hang up Skype and we're done this conversation.
Yeah.
Literally, you and I both have a choice. Boom. In that moment, am I going to go left? Am I going to go right? Am I going to go up? Am I going to go down? Am I going to be positive and future focused? Or am I going to be stressing and straining and worrying about what happened yesterday? And for all of us, the obstacles that we've experienced in the past or are experiencing today. That may be our current situation, but we can decide in those thousands and thousands of decisions that we have in every moment of every day to create something different for the future. That is 100% part of the human experience for all humans. Every single one of us have free will and the opportunity to make a choice in every moment what is going to come next.
Absolutely. And in what you're saying, one of the things that you're saying is that you have to be intentional. You have to make the choices. Now, somebody from a situation where, let's say it's a financial, they want to go from being broke to having what they want, whatever their goal is. Or maybe it's they want to move from that captive job of being an employee and creating something of their own. What are some of the questions they can start asking themselves to make themselves more intentional, like you did?
Yeah, I love your questions. Beautiful. So, here's the thing. I think that the first step in every situation is the imagination and the creativity that happens in our mind, right? So
Yeah.
it starts with an imagination of, well, hey, here's what it is today. This is reality. This is where I stand today. But this is what it could be. And this is what my vision, this is what my ideal life, my ideal world would look like. And the first thing that we have to do is get crystal clear on that. So many people waste so much of their life stressing and straining and worrying and focusing on what they don't like and what they don't want and all the things they're frustrated with. And literally, if they took that energy that they are exerting into the focus on what they don't want, and they just move that over into the bucket of exerting that energy on moving forward towards the things that they did want, life would change very, very quickly. So the first thing is it starts out with an imagination in your mind, but that's not enough, right?
Yeah.
You have to get clear on what you want. You have to start redirecting your energy towards forward movement towards that thing versus just a reiteration of a cycle of what you've experienced in the past that you don't like. But then the next and most important thing comes, and that is having a strategy. The vast majority of people set goals. They imagine some big thing that they would like to one day have, but they never take the next step of actually designing a strategy, getting a roadmap for, okay, right now I'm in San Diego, California. I want to make it to New York, right? What are the roads that I need to take? How long is this journey going to take? What are the obstacles I'm going to face along the way? How many times am I going to stop for gas? How much money do I need for hotel rooms? What are all the other things I need to plan and prepare for? What if I get a flat tire on the side of the road, right? So any journey needs a roadmap.
Yeah.
And most people do not take the time to effectively outline the roadmap, which is why most people give up on their dreams long before they become anywhere near to reality, because they don't take the time to actually gain an understanding of, okay, here's where I am. This is where I want to be. Now, what is it going to take to get there? Right. So there's more to it, but I'll just pause because I want to let everybody digest that and see where you're at with where I'm going with this so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So that roadmap, that strategy is such an important part of getting from point A to, and most people would say point B, but it's really way further down because there are going to be little milestones along the way that you have to go through. If it's a road trip, it's gas stations, hotels, detours through construction, all of that kind of stuff. Some of it's foreseen, some of it's unforeseen. When they're going through that process of changing their course, creating their strategy, what are some elements they can apply to their own life to step back and be prepared for obstacles? Because they're going to come their way, and be able to get around those obstacles instead of just quitting when they hit those.
Such a good question. I love that. So here's the thing, right? And you mentioned it already, that you have to, when you're going to hike Mount Everest, right? You're not going to start off by like leaving your house and sprinting as fast as you can to the bottom of Mount Everest and then start charging up the hill, right?
Right.
It doesn't work that way, right? So you have to come up with realistic milestones, and you have to break those milestones down into chunks that you can digest and actions that you can actually do on a daily basis that realistically fit into your life. And so you said, like, what are some of the things along that journey to make sure that you are able to keep going and that you can begin to make progress, right? Well, one of the most important things is taking that roadmap, breaking it down into milestones, taking those milestones and breaking them down into little manageable daily chunks where you can associate specific actions that you can do on a daily basis with making forward progress, whether it's in terms of growing a business, starting to go get clients, making a career change, losing a bunch of weight, getting yourself in shape, repairing your relationship, whatever it is, you have to break it down into, well, what are the actions that I can do on a daily basis with the time that I realistically have? Maybe you have 30 minutes a day. Maybe you have an hour a day. Maybe you have 3 hours a day. Everybody's life is a little bit different, but it's one of those things where you have to say to yourself, is it better to give up on the dream and never live that and never achieve that, or is it better to make slow but sure progress and arrive there eventually? Right.
Yeah.
And I think so many people lose their motivation because they're like, well, if I only have an hour a day, it's not even worth it. I'm never going to get there, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's the difference between getting there slowly or not getting there at all. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you start that journey, as you start the slow process, that may open up, if you have a good strategy, ways to have more time, more resources, or whatever it is. By creating the first milestone or getting to your first milestone, that may open up a wider berth towards going to a second milestone.
150%. And remember, this isn't the dark ages, right? So
Right.
there's a lot of things accessible to us to make these types of journeys more easy. So, when you think about embarking on a new journey of transformation in your life to create a different result, I always like to think about if you're going to visit the African safari, for example. Okay. You're going to drive through the jungle and see the animals in their natural environment. I don't know about you, but like, I'm not going on a safari unless I'm in like a car with protection and like a driver that knows the route
Yeah.
and can navigate me safely through, right? And knows what to do in an emergency situation. It is amazing to me, given all of the resources, all of the tools, all of the people that have spent their entire lives building businesses to teach systems in how to lose the weight or find the new relationship or build the business or change careers or whatever. So number one, go hire a tour guide, right?
Yeah.
Go find someone that's done the thing that you want to do and pay them to teach you to not make all the mistakes that they did on the path to getting to where they now are.
Absolutely. And having that guide is such a critical part of the process of, it could be through a mastermind group. It could be through one-to-one coaching. There's so many options out there anymore to finding that mentor, finding that coach that really anyone can find the right person for them.
Absolutely. And you know what? I say this all the time, but money is not an excuse. And I really do mean that, coming from a situation where money was the excuse and the reason why we couldn't do anything growing up. And I was so sick of hearing it by the time I was 10 years old that I was like, darn it, the second that I know I'm able to like get my work papers, like I don't care how many jobs I have to have, I'm never going to use that as a reason for not doing something in my life again.
Yeah.
Right. So I can say that because I came from that.
Yeah.
Right. And too many people say, well, I can't afford it, or, that's not realistic, or, but that's $3,000 or that's $5,000. A car can't drive if you're not willing to put gas in the tank.
Right.
Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And too many people in life want the car to drive before they put gas in it. And then they're like, well, if the car gets me there, then I'll put some gas in it, right? If the business grows, then I'll invest money in it. If, when the business gets to $100,000 a year, then I'll hire help. Then I'll pay for advertising. And it's like common sense, right? Like, it's like expecting a bank account to be paying you interest on money that you haven't yet put into it.
Right. Right. Oh, I've in my industry, web development, I've had clients come in and go, hey, if this works, I can pay you blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You got to pay for the system so that you can get the results you want. You don't get the results and then go, well, it works, so here you go. You got to take that and make that investment.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's in any industry. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether it's in the business coaching space or the web development industry, or, I'm sure we have people listening to this show in every industry under the sun. You simply will not become a high achiever that is able to reproduce an extraordinary life if you are not willing to fail along the way, because the means by which you are willing to fail is going to be the ability to succeed. So if you're willing to take a dime size risk, you're going to get a dime size reward. Right?
Yeah.
Because the only way that you can learn and grow and succeed and get better, faster, sharper in an effective time frame that's going to happen within your lifetime, and you're actually going to get to see the other side of this, is you got to be willing to dive in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You have to be willing to invest your heart and your soul and your mind. And I don't mean by that if you're in a transition stage in life that you can't moonlight or do something on the side to test it out, or do something part-time. That is completely fine. But you also have to use your common sense, and you have to understand that in life, what you put into things is what you get out of it. And if you are not willing to fail in order to succeed, you simply won't succeed. If you're not willing to invest until you've gotten a return, you will never get a return. And when you understand that in your heart of hearts, then anything becomes possible for you, because you go first. And when you go first, you will learn, you will grow, you will make mistakes, but you will learn so substantially from those mistakes that you will become unbeatable in your mental toughness and in your sharpness and in your wisdom, which you can then apply for your future success.
Well, you mentioned the word success, and that's been a kind of a fun topic in the past to talk with our guests about. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's talk about the first part. A lot of people see these stories on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, wherever they're engaged, and it's that overnight success. It's that person that, like, it seems like they had little investment. All of a sudden, they're this, trillionaire. Everything goes right. They're driving every expensive car under the sun. They're traveling all over the world, and yet most of us don't realize the backstory. So talk to us a little bit about how struggle and coming from little has changed your perspective on what success looks like and how success has impacted your life.
Sure. Well, I think for me, and probably for most people, kind of whatever your disadvantage is in life, if you have the right attitude, it becomes your advantage, right? For me, initially, I became really, really good at making money and really good at achieving a financial success, because that was my disadvantage in life, right? So I was able to channel my energy into that and become successful at that, because I never wanted to experience that again. But what I learned as I grew as a person and developed more as a more mature human, you might call it,
Okay.
is that success is not one dimensional, right? So whenever you pursue success in one area in spite of another, then you ultimately won't end up being happy, and ultimately will not be successful, because success is happiness, right? And so it's really learning what that well-rounded success of being able to live a life that reflects your value system and what's in your heart and what's in your soul and what matters to you. It's about bringing those different dynamics together into a life that you love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we learn that by making mistakes, and we learn that through the trajectory of our career. And at one point, maybe it is one dimensional, and then we learn what the other dimensions of success need to look like in order to have true happiness. And I think the only reason any one of us wants success is ultimately so we can be happy. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a movie called The Italian Job, and these people are robbing a bank. Not that I'm I'm suggesting that by any measure, but there's these guys, and they're all talking, and they're going, "Oh, when we have our money, we're going to do this. When we're going to have our money, we're going to do this. When I have this money, I'll do this." And then there's this last guy who kind of goes, "Well, I'll take one of all of yours," because he doesn't have his own definition of success. In your perspective, when people are going and trying to define their success, it's easy to look at the successes of others and make that your goal for success. How can somebody define their own successes successfully?
Yeah, I think that's so important because I think, especially with social media, it's very easy to get confused and to look at someone else's life or their story or what they're posting, or kind of like what you talked about earlier. This person that seems like an overnight success where they had been building for 15, 20 years. They've had three failed bankruptcies, a failed marriage, three businesses that went under. And now this is the fourth one that they finally got it right. But, people don't pay attention to that anymore. They just look at that snapshot like at the front, right?
Yeah,
I think defining your own picture of success comes down to really self-awareness.
that's good.
Self-awareness is so incredibly important. Why do I say that? Because my perfect day may be totally different than your perfect day. So if you lived my perfect day, you might be totally unhappy. If I lived your perfect day, I might be totally unhappy, right? So unless you are aware of your own self, like what makes you comfortable, what brings you fulfillment, what makes you smile, what makes you laugh, what makes you, feel fulfilled. For some people, they're looking at someone on social media getting on a private jet plane and they're feeling like, oh, my life is crap. What am
Yeah,
I doing? But in reality, they're a homebody. They
yeah,
wouldn't enjoy that. They
yeah.
wouldn't want to be flying in a private jet. It doesn't matter if they had the money to do it. It isn't what they choose to do with their money, even if they had it. So self-awareness is everything. So it's taking time to really reflect on like what brings you joy.
Yeah.
What is your value system? What's your perfect day? And not comparing that to anyone else and not competing with anyone else, running your own race, focusing on your own family, and really being aware of what makes you feel good inside and out, and then going after that. And it's really surprising because a lot of times to have your perfect day, it costs a whole lot less than you would think.
Yeah.
And for most of us, there's a lot more time available in our lives to do that than what we realize. It's just that we've never taken the time to like slow down enough to figure that out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Slowing down is such a significant part of success. I think that uh, the noise, the busyness of life sometimes steals us from having that
Yes.
focus of really stepping into the things that we were created to do, that are purposes, that identity of who we really are, and becoming the fullness of what that could be.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Let's dive a little bit into Kelly Roach International and the things that you're creating. You have a podcast called Unstoppable Success Radio, and you also authored a book called Unstoppable Success in Business and in Life. Tell us a little bit about them, who they're geared towards, and what somebody who may engage, whether it's reading through the book or listening to your podcast, what they may have in their takeaways from it.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, everything that we do is focused on helping people to achieve financial freedom by building a business that allows them to live a life that they love. So, it's about bringing together a business that takes care of the financial side of things and a life that gives you enough time to experience wealth, not just financially, but in your relationships, in your quality of life, in, how you live each and every day, your ability to take care of yourself, to live fully, pursue your passions, all of those things. So my book, my courses, my coaching programs, my masterminds, the private consulting that I do, the speaking, every single thing is geared towards helping people go further, faster, and accomplishing that two-pronged approach to success, business and life, and really making life your masterpiece. It's all about giving people the tools, the training, the empowerment, the step-by-step how-tos so that they can go from having an imagination in their head of what they'd like life to look like to actually having that roadmap and having a step-by-step guide and having the tools and understanding the strategy and building an infrastructure to construct the business and life that reflects those things that they dream of.
You also coach and mentor. You have masterminds and you're speaking. Tell us what your ideal customer or client looks like.
Yeah, definitely. So my ideal customer is in the service-based industry. So that means they're in some type of professional services. So I work with everything from medical weight loss doctors to people running their own wealth management firms, people running insurance companies, coaches, authors, speakers, some type of professional services, people that are out serving people, making a difference in some way, shape, or form for others, right? So professional services, they're in business, somewhere from 2 to 5 years. So maybe they've, gotten some of the basic foundations in place. They are pointed in a direction, but now they need help with that rapid business growth. So my genius is in rapid business growth. It's helping people put systems, automation, team, advertising, engineering your celebrity, putting all of those things in place so that you can go from being like the solopreneur, kind of doing all the work and being the business, to the CEO that is running a company that allows for a lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, there are some people out there who go, I'm content with just my 9 to 5. Is that bad, or should they be thinking bigger than that?
That is awesome. If you are content, let me tell you something. It is a lot more work to be an entrepreneur than it is to be an employee.
Yeah.
So if you're happy, happiness is the purpose of life. So why question what you're doing with your life if you're experiencing happiness? But if you have a gut instinct that tells you I'm destined for more, I'm capable for more, I desire more, well, then that's something to take a look at. That's something to reevaluate. But if you're happy as heck and you're feeling fulfilled, you're making money, you're taking care of your family, you have time to go on vacations, you're living the good life, and you feel like your life reflects that masterpiece that you envisioned for yourself, then why change it just because other people are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. And there's this whole perception. I think that's what like the Dirty Job show is about, and some of the other stuff that's coming out that's really questioning our philosophy of what we should be and creating that success. That I think it's really, really important to remember that a 9 to 5 is okay if that's what you're content in doing. Like somebody that just goes, hey, I just want to be a college professor. They're able to do that in that space, and that's what they love to do. Sweet. But I think sometimes it's easy to step into perceived success versus what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, and missing that happiness too. So it's really good to just kind of bring that up and
I agree.
Think about that.
Well, yeah, and it just comes back to, again, knowing yourself,
Yeah.
self-awareness. Self-awareness is everything, because if you use someone else's measure of success or happiness to make decisions in your life, you're going to end up being the one that's unhappy, right?
Yeah.
So you can't use someone else's measure of success or happiness to make decisions in your life, because each of us humans is different. Each of our thought processes is unique. And so you can't follow someone else's course. You have to create your own.
That's really, really good. You have a family, a little one and a husband, and you are quite busy. You have been for a long time, whether it was working in your job as a Fortune 500 executive or whether it's running your own business, which is a lot more difficult than people realize, I think. How do you balance that life of wanting to engage with your family, spending time going on vacations, carving out that unique time that you only get once with them, and making your business successful?
Yeah. Well, I think ruthless management of your time is absolutely necessary if you want to have a great life, because you just can't spend time on things that don't matter. Every moment of every day has to be with intention, even if that intention is, for the next hour, I'm going to do nothing because I need time to relax and rejuvenate and, get my cup full again so that I can have the energy to do the other things in life. But, for me, it's very easy because I know myself. I know that my number one priority in my life is my family. I make every decision in my life and every decision in my business focused around that. So it makes it very easy to make the right decision when you know yourself, when you know your value system, we know what's important to you and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing and start pursuing goals that do not align with that. Like, so for example, this summer I'm taking off every Friday to just spend at the pool in my backyard with my husband and my daughter.
That's
because
really
that
cool.
is the most important thing in my life. The whole reason why I'm an entrepreneur is because I want to have a great life filled with memories and amazing experiences with my family. And so we worked really, really hard over the last year. Me and my team busted it to grow the business, and we keep growing. And I very intentionally spent the last 7 months training, 3 of my team members on sales so that they could take that off my plate and start doing selling independently without me, and to get to this point that I'm at today. So again, know yourself, know your priorities. For me, my family is my priority, so it's really easy to make all of my decisions because I'm always asking myself, is this a good decision for my family or a bad decision for my family? Is this decision going to allow me to have more of my perfect day, which is outside at my pool with my family, listening to music and
Yeah.
relaxing? Or is this going to allow me to have less of my perfect days with my family? So construct that perfect day. Take some time to reflect on your why, your perfect path, what matters to you, and don't compare yourself to other people. I'm never going to be the person out there saying work 80 hours a week. You're not a real entrepreneur unless you grind it out and, you only need 5 hours of sleep and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not my personal philosophy. I've been there and done that as an employee. And I started a business to have a life. And so my
Yeah.
philosophy is a little bit different.
Well, and one of the things that you mentioned in there is that you are creating systems or changing things that are 7 months or a year in the process of getting to, so that you could be at the place where you're going, on Fridays, I'm spending the day with my family outside in our backyard at the pool, playing and having fun. And a lot of people, I think, approach these, that is a micro shift, but it's one that had to take time to get so that you could have that success of what you wanted to achieve. And it sounds like sometimes really having that perspective of the long game of like, this isn't going to be, okay, I spend 2 days and now I can have Fridays off. This is going to be 7 months or a year. And now I'm setting myself up so that I can do that.
The long game is everything. It's everything. And, with social media and our kind of microwave culture of give it to me now, people have forgotten that. And that's why I always tell my clients, go read the story of your hero. Go read their real story. Don't look at their social media posts from today. Go read their real story, because they were driving around schlepping it in a 20-year-old car with books in the back of it, going door to door selling. They were practically homeless. They went bankrupt. They had to, close their first 3 businesses. They failed 4 times. They had 3. Everybody has a backstory. And so if you're not in it to play the long game and you're not in it to win it over a period of decades, forget it. Because what makes you think that you're like the one person on the planet that's going to defy all of human history, which says that anything of value takes time?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And there's a reason why nature built it that way, right? That is nature. That is absolutely nature. And that is by intention, because it weeds out the people that don't want it bad enough, right? We can't all be retired on the beach on an island somewhere. There has to be people that want that life bad enough that they're willing to sacrifice for 10 or 20 or 30 years to get that life, right?
Yeah. Now, as I was doing research into the podcast, going through your website, going through different articles, reading and listening to stuff you've produced, one theme that I think gets missed about you is the importance of giving back. It's something that's significant to you. Can you tell us why that is and how you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's something that's so, so important to me. And I was talking to one of my team members this morning, and I'm like, I feel like we need to bring so much more awareness to this, because, we're doing some pretty cool things. 2 months ago, we donated and we paid for someone to get surgery through Operation Smile, someone that had a cleft palate.
Yeah.
This past month, we donated $300 to Charity Water to bring clean drinking water to, a bunch of people. And $30 brings clean drinking water to someone for life. life, and there's
Yeah.
still billions of people on the planet that don't have clean drinking water. We do things like donating to the local food cupboards, and bringing toys for kids at the holidays that are in the hospital, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I think that we have a responsibility as entrepreneurs to be leaders, not just in the space of, hey, buy my stuff, and if you buy my stuff, I'm going to do my best to serve you. I think there's more to it, right? Like, I think there's more to life than that. And I think the bigger picture is, no matter how good your content is on your podcast, no matter how good, my videos are, or whatever it is that I'm out there trying to teach and empower people to start and grow their businesses, there's people out there that no matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to help in that way, because they simply don't even have the means to take that information and do something with it. And that's why I'm so focused on charity water, and so focused on bringing clean drinking water to people, because I feel like that's the basic foundational element of human life that every person on the planet needs and deserves. And it's not a problem that can't be solved. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is that this is a problem that can be solved.
Yeah.
$30 brings one person clean drinking water for life. And so my mission is, as we grow the company, to keep growing and growing and growing the amount that we can donate every single month. And hopefully that we'll be able to raise enough awareness in the people that follow us and engage with our brand, to get other people excited about the fact that we can eliminate this problem on the planet completely. And, what a better human family we could be if we all just had a little bit of care and concern for the other people that we are coexisting with, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's easy in our Western philosophies to dehumanize people outside of our space. You see
Absolutely.
it with,
Absolutely.
Oh, they're taking our jobs. They're doing this. They're doing this. They're doing this. And we see it and how it impacts us. And yet we don't perceive or think about how our actions impact them.
Exactly.
And Operation
Exactly.
Smile and Charity Water are two great organizations. I love what Scott Harrison's doing on how he's approaching, 100% of the money donated goes back out into the, into creating clean water in these communities. It's just such an amazing shift in that charitable space on how they're approaching how they do what they do. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
Before we jump into rapid fire questions, can you tell us how somebody can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Unstoppable Success Radio. So if you are thinking about starting a business, you just started a business, or you have a business that you want to quickly grow, Unstoppable Success Radio is definitely the place to connect with me, where we have 3 shows a week, sometimes 4. And we are dedicated to helping all entrepreneurs go further, faster, and accomplishing their goals. So that's a great way to find me. And, I'm out there on the internet, all the places everybody is. So that's great. And, my Facebook page, I'm under Kelly Roach International. So come find me, come say hello.
And we'll make sure to have links in the episode notes too, so that if you're listening to this podcast, look at the episode notes, you can just click on over. Let's jump into some rapid fire questions. These are specifically geared to diving a little bit deeper into helping our listeners with thinking differently. So our first question is, what is one step someone can take to start chasing their dream or big idea if they don't know where to start?
Great question. So the first place to start is evaluating what you're passionate about, what you're the best at, and what of those things can you find out there that people are already paying money to get help with. So where is the crossover between monetization and your favorite thing to do? And that's a great place to start.
It's really good. And I think sometimes we think we have to reinvent the wheel, but looking at the other successes where money's being generated is such a great place to start, because we don't have to reinvent everything.
Exactly.
Now, you've had a lot of life experiences, whether it's being a cheerleader, whether it's working in a Fortune 500 company, whether it's starting your own business, your family, the world of charity. You're pretty vested across the board of things. What's one area in the world you want to see change?
I think just overall, I would like for it to be more commonplace that every one of us believes that we can make a positive contribution in the world, no matter how small or little our means are. I think that if people had a stronger belief that they could change the world one person at a time and saw and understood the ways that they could, that they would do that. Because I think we all want to do good. We all want to make a difference, but maybe we don't think that the difference we can make is big enough, and that's simply not true.
That's really good. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that I inspired, empowered, and taught millions of people how to become financially free while living a life that they love.
Speaking of inspiration, who or what inspires you?
Well, my daughter definitely inspires me every single day. I live life through her lens and rediscovering everything that way, which is absolutely unreal. So that's one big thing. Some of the people that have inspired me, definitely Wayne Dyer was a huge influencer for me. Napoleon Hill, Tony Robbins. Those are some of the people that really helped kind of shape my worldview and perspective on things.
What are you reading or watching?
I'm rereading for the 18th time the Answer right now by John Assaraf. I keep putting it down and then I pick it back up again. Then I put it down and I pick it back up again. And I also just read Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson as well.
What's maybe one book that you would recommend for every dreamer or entrepreneur out there that should be a go-to book that they should start with?
Think and Grow Rich. Definitely. Think and Grow Rich.
Classic in the business world. What are you watching right now?
I was watching Better Call Saul. I love Better Call Saul.
Okay.
But I guess it's over for the moment now. So,
what's one dream that you still want to fulfill in your own life?
Well, one of the biggest things is as my daughter gets older, I really want to travel the world with my husband and daughter. I did a lot of traveling when I was younger by myself and with friends and on vacations and that kind of thing. And we still we'll do family vacations and stuff like that. But my daughter's too young right now for us to actually do excursion type, see the world traveling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a difference. I kind of categorize vacationing and traveling as two totally different things. I definitely have a dream of exploring the world with my family.
What's one place you're looking forward to explore?
Everything. Everything. I mean, I have a list of so many places. I don't know where to begin.
Kelly, thank you so much for taking time to share your story, give some great insight into your successes and worldview that can really impact others. Thanks for taking time out.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. Appreciate the opportunity.
It has been so much fun chatting with Kelly, hearing her story, and learning the great insights she had along the way. If you want to learn more about Kelly or find out how you can connect with her, swing on over to jumblethink.com and check out the episode notes. On Monday's episode, we have Mac Skinner. He is the co-owner of Two Rock Amps. He's worked with tons of musicians, helping them create their dream guitar amplifiers, and also built high-end boutique guitar amps. We also talk about his journey from the restaurant world to the music world. It's a really fun episode. I think you're going to enjoy it. Jumblethink is all about helping dreamers, makers, innovators, and influencers with their big idea and making it a reality. One of the ways we do that is through the podcast. Another way we do that is through resources on our website. If you go on over to jumblethink.com and you click the resources page, you're going to find a whole bunch of great resources from past guests and other people that will help you along your journey. When you buy through the resources section, it helps support the podcast along with what Jumblethink's doing on the larger scale. Thanks for checking it out. I hope it helps you on your journey to chase your big idea. Thanks again for tuning into the Jumblethink podcast. I hope it's encouraged you on your journey to chase your big idea and dream and create the world you want to live in.
Les mères de famille, les enfants, peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps. Vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.